Hello chess lovers, Suren here, and in this video I want to share with you an interesting attacking game which Magnus Carlsen played against Hikaru Nakamura. This game was played in 2013 at Tata Steel tournament. In this game Carlsen had white pieces and he opened up with e4, to which Nakamura responded with Sicilian defense. Knight f3, knight c6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, e5, knight b5 and d6. Kalashnikov variation is on the board, which is the close relative of the Sveshnikov variation and is also known as the Neo-Sveshnikov. The difference between these two variations is that still white hasn't developed his queenside knight and can go for a Maroczy bind, and on the other hand we can see that black's kingside knight also stands on its initial square, which gives black's position some flexibilities. For example, in some cases black can even develop his knight by putting on e7, something which we will see in our game. Quite possibly by choosing Kalashnikov variation, Nakamura tried to take his opponent out of preparations, but with this g3 it's Carlsen who is now trying to take his opponent into a dark forest. In here c4, knight c3 are considered to be the most popular continuations, but in the game we see g3, which is a theoretically harmless sideline. h5 by Nakamura, he is trying to undermine white's kingside pawn structure as soon as possible. Knight c3, a6, knight a3, b5, knight d5, knight ge7, bishop g2, bishop g4. After the game, Carlsen admitted that at this point he was expecting knight takes d5 and then knight e7, if c4 then bishop d7. But in the game we see bishop g4 by Nakamura, f3, bishop e6. Another problem with the fact that when the bishop stands on e6 you can't capture on d5 because your pieces will get forked, and on the other hand capturing on d5 with the bishop will somewhat weaken the light squares, something which we are going to see in the game. c3. Meanwhile Carlsen is proceeding with the standard idea of bringing the knight on c2, h4, knight c2 and bishop takes d5. There we have it, that risky exchange follows and the light squares in black's camp are becoming somewhat vulnerable. H takes g3 is something which is worth of taking into consideration, but even in this case white has a slightly preferable position. The fact is that playing this position with the white pieces is easy because from white side it's easier to come up with interesting plans. f4, a4 can be white's upcoming moves. In our game to knight c2 we see bishop takes d5 answer, e takes d5, knight a5 and f4. There it goes, Carlsen is undermining black's center and he's like adding fuel to the fire. Knight f5 by Nakamura. In here still it was not too late to go for h takes g3. Again, this is something which is worth of taking into consideration, but instead we see knight f5 and there we have it. Carlsen is moving forward his g-pawn, which may seem to be a daring idea because this is weakening white's kingside, but soon we will see that the one who should worry is black king. h3, bishop e4, knight h4. Seems like that the h4 square belongs to black queen, and in here it was better to play queen h4 check. If king f1 then knight e7, but even after knight e1 white is maintaining better chances. In our game to bishop e4 we see knight h4 answer. Here Carlsen castled kingside, g6, king h1, a prophylactic move, preparing the final blow, bishop g7, and there we have it, f5 is on the board. White is showing his dominance over the light squares, g takes f5, g takes f5, and knight g2. This move doesn't give black much, and at this point it was very important to play bishop f6, blocking the f-pawn's path. Still black can put a resistance, but instead we see knight g2, and that move allowed Carlsen to go for this beautiful pawn sacrifice. The idea is that now if bishop takes f6 then white has this queen f3 move, and if a move like rook h4 counterattacking white bishop, then this time white can play bishop g5. A very beautiful move, which is destroying black's position on the spot. In our game 2, f6, black answered with bishop f8, and we have queen f3, queen c7, knight b4, white knight is hurrying towards the c6 square, knight b7, meanwhile black knight is coming after this bishop, knight c6, knight c5, and bishop f5. Of course, white won't allow black to win that bishop. Now we'll see how useful this light squared bishop can be. Knight d7, bishop g5, rook g8, and this time we have queen h5. Suddenly white pieces occupied very active positions, and we can see that black is in trouble. Black is almost like in a position of zugzwang. You know, it's difficult to find a good continuation. Knight b6 was Nakamura's answer, coming after the pawn on d5, but Carlsen's answer was staggering, and he played bishop e6, not only protecting this pawn, but also white is now threatening knight e7, cutting the communication between the queen and the pawn, and threatening queen takes f7. Rook takes g5 was Nakamura's answer. Already this is a desperation. Nakamura is luring away white queen from the h5 e8 diagonal, and then is capturing on e6, but after d takes e6 we have a resignation. The threat is f7 check, and seems like that there is no adequate defense. If, for example, queen takes c6, if you accept the piece sacrifice, then f7 checkmate will follow. We have a very nice checkmate with a pawn. That's why after d takes e6 we have a resignation. Well, this was a very quick and nice attack by Magnus Carlsen. This time Nakamura's Kalashnikov betrayed him. In the end, a chess puzzle for you, where the task is to find the winning line for white. It's white to move, and I will wait for your answer in the comment section. Feel free to check out my early uploads as well. We'll see you in my next video. Take care.